Civic 1.8 valve adjustment. Here we go. First things first, take out the 4 coil packs, take out the 4 spark plugs. Then we're going to take out this front wiring harness, 2 bolts in the front right here, and then it does slide to the right, 2 bolts in the back right here. Take out this PCV pipe, take out the clip, pull the pipe to the side, undo this clip right here for the harness, pull it out, slide it to the right, and tuck it underneath the front bulkhead. Then we got 8 10mm bolts for the valve cover gasket, 4 in the front, 4 in the back. Please cover the spark plug holes, maintain your professionalism. Next, get your 19mm socket with a long extension, jam it into that hole, find that crank bolt, and rotate the engine until you see the words up on this cam gear. That will bring the number 1 cylinder up the top to the center, right where we're going to start on our first valve. On each cylinder, the valves furthest away from you are exhaust, the valves closest to you are intakes. So starting at number 1, I'm going to loosen up all 4 nuts on each intake and exhaust valve. So here I'm first checking the exhaust valves. I chose 0.25 millimeters, which is right in the middle of spec. As you can see, the fuel gauge does not even fit into the exhaust valves, therefore the clearance is way too tight. And here I'm checking the intake valves. I chose 0.20, which is again in the middle of spec. So this intake valve is actually really good. I might even just leave it like that. But this one's really loose, so this one definitely needs to be adjusted. Now let's begin adjusting the valves. You will need a flat edge screwdriver and a 10mm wrench of some sort. I have a factory Honda tool to adjust the valves with, so that's what I will be using. So adjusting valves does take a little while to get the feeling right with the feeler gauges. In this particular instance, you want to tighten up the screwdriver to take slack out of the valve adjustment and loosen the screwdriver to put slack back into the valve adjustment. So when looking for the right feel, it should be a little bit of drag when moving it back and forth like this. So when sliding the feeler gauge through the valve, you want to put a little bit of effort into it, but not a whole bunch. And same thing for all the valves. When it feels perfect to you, go ahead and tighten down the wrench or 10mm while holding the screwdriver completely still. After tightening, remember to recheck. The torque spec for the nut on top is 10 foot-pounds, so it's really not that tight. After finishing the first cylinder, rotate the engine clockwise until the next number comes up, which should be number 3 cylinder. So go ahead and adjust those 4 valves for number 3 cylinder, and then next it will be number 4 cylinder, and after that will be number 2 cylinder. So go ahead and adjust all the valves, and then I'll meet you back again when we do the valve cover gasket. So now we have the valve cover. Clean out the channel where the new gasket is going to sit. I like to use a rag and basically stick a flathead screwdriver into the channel and run it throughout the entire valve cover to clean out that channel. Make sure there's no oil in there, so it's nice and clean when we put the new gasket on. So I'm using a new factory valve cover gasket. These are the tabs and where they should be. If you're using an aftermarket valve cover gasket, then I don't know what those tabs are going to be in the same spots. Before putting on the new valve cover gasket, we need to put a dab of silicone in that spot and this spot, basically where the timing cover and the head meet up. We don't have any leaks in those areas, and those are the only places you need to put this. So after that, bolt down your valve cover. Go ahead and put the wire harnesses back on, put the PCV breather tube back on, and this wire harness on the front. And then we're going to go ahead and install the 4 new spark plugs. So whenever I do spark plugs, I always tighten the spark plugs with a torque wrench. I tighten these to 21 foot-pounds. So now we just done a valve adjustment and replace the spark plugs on your Civic. Good job. If this video helped you out, please like and subscribe. Con Auto out. Oh, and don't forget to put your wheel on. You might need that.